Hi guys, Billy back, and this time we're going to be looking at the Daftoys 1/6 scale collectible figure clothing set for Alita Battle Angel. Now this is her in a sort of plain clothes with the original body that she has at the start of the movie. Plus we're also going to be looking at the Mr. Toys 1/6 scale Alita head sculpt, both the war paint and non-war paint versions. Now this is a set that came quite a while ago. However, I was waiting for at least the Mr. Toys head sculpts to come out so that I could show with that figure. A lot of people have been putting this clothing set on the original Hot Toys version, but for me, I'm not 100% confident with doing that, simply because Daftoys are untested and I have a funny feeling that the clothing could stain the body, and I'm definitely not damaging the original Hot Toys Alita body. That thing is incredible. It's nice that it came in a lovely presented box. Sometimes they just come in like sort of Ziploc bags and that's it. They just come in a padded envelope. However, they've gone the full hog and actually given it some packaging. And you can see this is the figure here. They've obviously used the Alita, the original sculpted hair Hot Toys Alita figure, to show this off. However, I'm not going to do that. You can see Alita Battle Angel written on the front, which is surprising they got away with that, to be honest. They should have called this, they could have called it just Battle Angel, or they could call it the Fighting Angel or something like that. But they've actually gone and, you know, risked a copyright strike for no apparent reason. But as it is, yeah, Alita Battle Angel. The resolution of the pictures on here aren't great. It's a little bit fuzzy. You can see just along there, it looks like someone's gone in with Photoshop and had fun. But the picture looks okay. You can see a picture in the background there and lots of circuitry because she is a cyborg. There's the Daftoys logo. Again on the side, Battle Angel, Daftoys. Nothing up the top. And then on the back we have a picture of exactly what the figure comes with. However, there is an extra item that they have not shown that comes with this figure. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a cheeky recast, possibly. So she does come with the Damascus sword as an extra accessory and all that you see in this picture. Okay, let's open this up and have a look at exactly what we get. Okay, no messing about today. I've just gone straight in, unboxed everything and put it on the figure because I was just so excited. I just wanted to see it all put together, and I have to say I really like what I'm seeing. Obviously you can see that this is the original non-war paint head sculpt from Mr. Toys with the realistic hair. This, I think, is the way they should have gone with the Hot Toys version. Some figures I understand probably work better sculpted, and in the past they have gone with real hair when really they should have gone with sculpted, and I think they're sort of overcorrecting now, whereas instead of a case-by-case basis, they're actually going ahead and giving all their figures sculpted hair, which I think is a bit of a misstep because the Hot Toys Alita, although it does look nice, I do think she has a sort of, almost like, because it's such a fixed hairstyle, a little bit of a mushroomy sort of gap between the neck and everything, whereas this, it can sit down nicely and looks a lot better. And it does have a purse system, so you can move the eyes around and pose them. I haven't done any of that yet, but it is quite a fun looking figure. Now the body is a Pop Toys 1/6 scale female figure suntan version. I wanted to get the small bust version. I do have it on pre-order, but the damn thing just hasn't been released yet. The new batch hasn't come out, so I'm just waiting for those to be released, and then I will swap the body over and she will have the small bust because she's supposed to have a lot more of a smaller, almost childlike look to her. Whereas with this, they've given me, I think, the large bust version, and unfortunately she does look a bit heavy chested. However, let's have a look at the clothing itself, and you can see it's pretty nice, looks pretty good. There's a couple of bits of hair there, I'll move them out in a sec. But the t-shirt underneath is really good. It actually has like a sort of curve at the bottom there, which makes it look like it's actually a bit of fashion. I really like these sort of jeans that they've given, and this is the reason why I'm not putting these on a Hot Toys version, because unfortunately when I was putting everything on, there was a little bit of a dye coming off in my hands. Not a lot, but enough for me to go, no way am I putting that on my Hot Toys version, because it will just damage the actual paintwork on that body. And you can see that the leggings fit really nicely. They're actually quite well suited for this Pop Toys body. They don't actually like sag too much down here in the crotch area or anything. And you can see I've put the boots on and they look pretty good. I do like how they fitted. I did have to put a little bit of glue on the foot pegs and then move it around until it dried, a little bit of super glue, to tighten up the ball joint on the ankles, because they did pop off very easily. The sort of ball joint on the Pop Toys figure just was a little bit undersized for the hole for the boot itself. But like I said, I just put a little bit of super glue on and just moved it around so it didn't dry out, and just kept moving it. So now they're quite tight, they're quite well fixed, but they also pose really well. And yeah, she does have really good stability. She can stand up straight quite easily. It's not too difficult for her to do that. I really like what they've done with this coat. You can see all those little rivets and buckles in the coat itself, which look great. Now, one of the criticisms a lot of people have had, and it's the thick padding up here. It sort of rides quite high up on the body, so when you try and get it down, it doesn't sit as well, and it sort of rides quite high up. But I'm okay with that actually, because what it does is it gives her a sort of like a natural slope to the shoulder. It's not the best. It could have been a little more subtle, but as it is, I'm not too fussed about it. I like all the sort of quilted sort of detail they've put up in the top here, and they've even got wires in the coat here, so you can pose it around. So if you've got her in an action pose, you can have this sort of flapping in the wind, which is really cool. However, there is no wire in the bottom, which is a shame. I think that would have helped a lot more as well, just to get those action poses done properly. So I guess that brings us to the accessories, and you can see that the hands she comes with, they look okay. They're sort of based on the hands from the movie. You can see it's just got the etching on the back of the hand there. However, I will say that the wash that they've put on it, while highlighting the details, also gives it a slightly dirty look, but also looks a little bit more like bone. From a certain distance, it looks like she's got skeletal hands rather than the cybernetic hands that she actually has. And one of the downsides of this Pop Toys body is the wrist pegs aren't great. They're a bit too thin for these hands. However, what I've done is I've added a little bit of glue to the ends, and I've just let them dry, then add a bit more glue, let them dry, add a bit more glue, let them dry, and then it will just fit the hands on. Now I'm waiting for the other body, the small chested body, to come, which is why I haven't really done any doctoring. But if you wanted to, because she comes with her own wrist pegs that you're supposed to replace on the Hot Toys body, you could doctor down these parts here, and they could fit into the Pop Toys arm there. However, because the porthole in the Pop Toys arm is a little bit smaller, you would have to shave these down just so they can slot in comfortably, because these are just a little bit too thick on the end here to actually fit into the forearm. And here are the other two hands that she comes with. However, that brown wash does give it a little bit more of a bone look than a cybernetic look, but it's not too big a deal. And as you can see, she does come with the Damascus blade, and that does look very, very similar to the Hot Toys version. That's the Hot Toys one on top, and that's the Daftoys one at the bottom. But you can see there is a little bit more of a finer detail to the Hot Toys version, especially in the handle here with the silvers, and also the blade looks a little bit more metal in the Hot Toys version, where it has a slightly duller silver on the Daftoys version. But it still looks really good, and the fact that you get that with the figure means you don't have to go hunting for one on the secondary market, sort of parted out from Alita, or the die-cast one that was made, which I don't have. I don't really need it. Unfortunately, some people get really excited about die-cast. However, sometimes it's not suitable for purpose. It's sometimes too heavy for your figures, and it can actually wear down the joints on your arms, break wrist pegs, that kind of thing, depending on the figure and depending on the die-cast item. So lots of people get really excited about die-cast, but I'm a bit more selective about where and when they should use it. And she also comes with this little chocolate bar accessory, which always really baffled me in the film, because if you watch the original anime and read the manga of Alita, the world they inhabit is pretty brutal. It's pretty down and dirty, sort of really post-apocalyptic almost. They live in out of like tin corrugated buildings, and technology's all old and battered and ruined, and it's very cyberpunk in a sort of post-apocalyptic way. Whereas in the movie, the setting really looks like Ready Player One, just overpopulated, which is very busy. And it looked good, but unfortunately I do think that they probably used assets from Ready Player One to make the city, when really they should have done their work and made it look a lot more run down and a lot more vicious than, say, like the world that they created for the movie. Not to say, like I still love the movie. I still think it's probably the best manga to live action film I've seen for a very long time, which isn't saying much because most of them are absolute trash, but yeah, this was probably one of the better ones, mostly because they got the spirit of Alita right, and Rosa Salazar in that was fantastic. But for anyone who's got Netflix, check out brand new Cherry Flavour, which has got Rosa Salazar in, and she was great in that. There's a scene where someone vomits up a kitten, but it's a really good show, and it really shows Rosa Salazar's range. And Alita wasn't a fluke for Rosa. She can actually act really well. And finally, the last accessory is this tablet that comes with a Hunter Warrior ID on it. It looks okay. It's got just a bit of plastic with a couple of stickers on it, nice and glossy, but it's nothing to write home about, but it does do the job. Okay, and here's how it looks with the head taken off. And we can see that this is the eye rolling system inside. It's okay, it's pretty functional. You can see you can roll the eyes about pretty well. But yeah, it's going to be a bit fiddly to get them just right, because you don't want her to have derpy eyes, which will be very easy with this figure because she's got such large eyes. Also, if you've got thick fingers, it can be a little bit difficult to get really subtle, nuanced sort of turns on the eye, simply because it's really hard to get your fingers in there. So you have to be careful. Maybe use a really good pair of like needle nose pliers if need be, to try and just try and get them so that they're posed in the right way and facing in the same direction. So yeah, we're going to have to futz around with that a little bit. But we can see the paint application on the faces. It's fairly nice. It's been getting a lot of stick online, this face, for some strange reason. I don't actually know why. It looks pretty good to me. It doesn't look terrible at all. Now, it doesn't look exactly like the Hot Toys version, but it's not meant to be. It's an unlicensed version of the figure. So it's meant to look a little bit like her, but it's not exactly the same. But also, I do like how they've managed to put the paint application of the war paint on, which is actually blood. It does look a little bit soft, but also it does work really well. And if you wanted to, you could just add a tiny bit more of a sort of a clear red, Tamiya clear red on there if you really wanted to gloss it up and make it look a bit wetter. But as it is, I think they've done a pretty good job, and I actually like the way they've painted the eyebrows and the eyes and the actual, like, the eyeshadow and stuff like that. The lips aren't too bright. It doesn't make it look too dolly, which is really good. And I actually like the fact that you can take the head off and actually futz with the hair and then put it back on afterwards. It's a little bit fiddly, but it works really well, and there's a magnet in there, so you can see it just sort of magnetizes back on. But you have to get it just right, otherwise it sits a little bit loose on top of the head. And also, just to note that there is product in the hair, so they have put some hairspray in there already. So what happens is, if you're trying to pose this around, you might want to wet it a little bit and then get it all posed up properly, get the hair puffed out a little bit so she looks a little bit better, and then you'll be able to do it. Because once you originally get it out of the packaging, all that hair has been squashed down to the side of her head, and it doesn't look quite right like that. So you've got to futz around with it. Oh, and if anyone asks, can you take the hair off and put it on the Hot Toys version? No, absolutely not. You can't. You can probably doctor it, but no, it's not going to work. But you can see what I was saying about the hair. It looks good, but she does have that sort of, it looks a little bit helmeted around the edges, and there's lots of gaps in there that you can't hide. So it's supposed to look like real hair, but from certain angles it doesn't. Okay, honestly, I think this is a really nice third-party version of Alita, using simply the Daftoys clothing set, the Mr. Toys head sculpts, and a Pop Toys body. Now, the slim, small-breasted version of the Pop Toys body is up for pre-order on certain sites, your usual ones like, I think 16Kit and KG Hobby, places like that. Check those out first. And once I get that, I think she will look a lot better because she will look a little bit more movie accurate. However, she still looks great like this. The clothing she can wear still allows her to pose pretty well in lots of different positions. The body does lend itself to really good posing options, and there isn't a lot of restriction except for maybe in the shoulder area where that padding on the coat is quite thick. Overall, I really like the Daftoys clothing, and I actually really like the Mr. Toys head sculpts. Now, one of the things people have said is, could you swap out the Mr. Toys head sculpt for the Hot Toys version? And I have to say, this is the Hot Toys version, and it's got like a neck port already fixed in there, which is a shame because it sits just on here like that. Pop, nice and easy. And you can pop it off quite quickly as well. The Mr. Toys version does come with a neck peg that you can put in there yourself. However, its bottom part here I think is undersized for what it needs to be. So it just sort of sits on top like that, and it doesn't quite rightly fit. So just trying to get that in there, you can see that that porthole is just, this part is too small, this part is too big, which is a massive shame. Doesn't mean you couldn't find a neck peg that could actually do the job, but I think their intention was to make it work with the original Hot Toys figure, but it didn't really gel, and I think that's mostly to do with this. It's too small one side, too big the other. And with the neck port just put in, you can see it's really, really loose, and it sits up a bit too high on the head, which is a shame. I think it will need some doctoring in order to get it to fit nicely and snugly on the body. So yeah, it is a bit of a shame. I was really hoping that I could just swap out the head sculpt and use the war paint version, but it doesn't look like that's going to be possible. Overall, I really like the Mr. Toys head sculpt. I really do like that Daftoys clothing as well. I think they work really well together to give you a really nice looking Alita for your collection. However, it would have been nice if they had been able to just tweak that neck peg just a little bit more so that you could get realistic hair onto your original Hot Toys Alita figure. As it is, I have a funny feeling you're going to need to buy one of those really expensive custom hair pieces if you really want to make it work with the Hot Toys figure. I was hoping that one of these head sculpts would just be perfect enough to swap out with the Hot Toys version. However, that's not likely to be. But as a third party 1/6 scale representation of Alita in your collection, mixing the Mr. Toys with the Daftoys set is just a winning combination. And for me, using that Pop Toys body really does work, because not only is it a reasonably good body that's quite cheap, it also has so many different pieces and parts to it. Different feet, different hands, so many different kinds of pegs. There is different attachments for the feet, just in case one of the pegs doesn't work more than the other. Just the whole thing together just works really well. So do yourself a favour, if you haven't already, I recommend picking up the Mr. Toys head sculpt, either the war paint one or the normal one, whichever you can get your hands on. I personally recommend the war paint one. Overall, this figure wins as a third party 1/6 scale representation of Alita in the collection. My only criticism with the Daftoys clothing set was that it just came with 2 gripping hands and 2 open hands. Where's the fisted hands? She can't do her Panzerkunst because she doesn't have 2 fists to hold up, which is a bit of a shame. And it's not like we can just go out and get different hands to replace those. They're quite specific to this character, so you can't actually go out and give her sort of like a 2 fists up Panzerkunst style pose. Mind you, saying that, you could, if you've got the original Alita figure, you could use the fists from the Alita figure, to go on here, but it doesn't work as well as, say, like the original sort of Mark 1 body hands that would actually make this suit and the look more effective. But it does work. You can get the Alita hands on there and make it look pretty cool, I think, anyway. So yeah, that's her posed in Panzerkunst form. This is actually a really good quality third-party figure overall. So do yourself a favour, if you can, get hold of the Daftoys clothing, get hold of the Mr. Toys head sculpts, and you're onto a winning combination of having a nice looking Alita in the collection for a fraction of what the Hot Toys version costs now, and it is going up in price on the secondary market already. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. If you do me a favour now, if you can get the fuck out of my cave. Bye bye.